He was attracted to the street life, as mom put it, right? And just wasn't a positive direction. But then he found filmmaking at his school. And so at YCP, we bring professional filmmakers into the classroom to mentor students from concept to screen over the course of the year. And we partner with the teachers to help make this happen. He became the lead actor in his class film. And at one point during production, mom was sharing that she was frustrated because he's wearing the same clothes every single day. And she doesn't understand, like, what are you doing? Telling him to change. And he looks at it and he says, Mom, it's called continuity. Like, I'm an actor in a film and I have to look like it's the same date. And so, mom shares, this is when something shifted and she realized something. And he's now talking about college. He is asking about careers in film and considering like what that could look like for him, right? He was just really drawn to it. So he found purpose, right? And she's sharing all this with me. And I should mention that the family is currently living in a motel, right? And so, but in that moment, it hits me. And I'm like, she's talking about the student who's winning Best High School Actor at our award ceremony tomorrow. So I paused for a second. My team's back there. I run to them. I was like, yo, just to confirm that it was actually him. I come back and I tell mom so she can bring the whole family. She breaks down.
Want to know how top schools create collaborative learning environments that actually work? ODP Business Solutions has equipped innovative educators for over 3 decades. Visit odpbusiness.com/education and let's make a ruckus together. That's odpbusiness.com/education. Strong school culture doesn't happen by accident. It's built through meaningful support and opportunities to grow. Frontline Education's 2026 K-12 Lens Report explores how districts are connecting professional growth to stronger staffing outcomes. Visit frontlineeducation.com/leaders to see the full report. That's frontlineeducation.com/leaders to see the full report. IXL takes the guesswork out of lesson planning for teachers. IXL's ready-made lesson plans are aligned to your textbooks and state standards, so teachers can turn to IXL for the exact content they need to help their students. You can get started today at ixl.com/leaders. That's ixl.com/leaders. All right, and Hector, welcome to the show.
Hey, Danny, thanks for having me, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, pleasure. Can't wait to dig into your work and especially learn more about the Latino Film Institute. But where I want to start is you told me you were cleaning up after an event, and sort of once you were done, you noticed there was a woman just kind of like hanging around. It just really seemed that she wanted to talk to you. I guess she was a mom of a student in your program. And yeah, what did she tell you?
Man, this has been one of the most impactful moments in my career as an educator and really changed how I understand or understood impact at least. But at LALIF, that is the Los Angeles Latino International Film Festival, we host a student festival within the festival. And it was the end of our YCP workshops and master classes. I was the last one out. I was following my team, just making sure everything was picked up. I noticed this woman standing by the exit, just staring at us. I walked over to acknowledge her and meet her, and she starts telling me about her son. He's the oldest of her 4 kids. He has 3 younger sisters. He's a senior at a continuation high school that we partner with, and dad is not in the picture. And before YCP, he was really headed down sort of a wrong path or a direction she didn't want, right? Because of trouble at home, he was hanging with the wrong crowd. He was attracted to the street life, as mom put it, right? And it just wasn't a positive direction. But then he found filmmaking at his school. And so at YCP, we bring professional filmmakers into the classroom to mentor students from concept to screen over the course of the year. And we partner with the teachers to help make this happen. He became the lead actor in his class film. And at one point during production, mom was sharing that she was frustrated because he's wearing the same clothes every single day. And she doesn't understand, like, what are you doing? Telling him to change. And he looks at it and he says, Mom, it's called continuity. Like I'm an actor in a film and I have to look like it's the same date. And so, Mom shares, this is when something shifted and she realized something. And, he's now talking about college. He is asking about careers in film and considering like what that could look like for him. Right. He was just really drawn to it. So he found purpose. Right. And she's sharing all this with me. And I should mention that the family is currently living in a motel. Right. And so, but in that moment, it hits me. And I'm like, she's talking about the student who's winning best high school actor at our award ceremony tomorrow. So I paused for a second. My team's back there. I run to them. I was like, yo, just to confirm that it was actually him. I come back and I tell Mom so she can bring the whole family. She breaks down. Tears of joy. She hugs me. She embraces the moment. I'm getting emotional, right? And I just start to think like, wow, what a powerful story. And this is just one. And so we do this work across the state of California with 21 school districts. And so, my thought was, how many of these moments are happening that we never even hear about? Right. And so that's why we do the work that we do.
Right. What do you think, Hector, that conversation experience taught you?
It taught me a couple of things, and it affirmed a couple of things too. I think, at YCP, we firmly believe that students need to be creators and not just the consumers, right? And we do that by leading, or we lead by operating in excellence. And what that means for us is like how we think and how we act, right? We want to ensure that we're aligned with industry standards and we're bridging the pathways and filling the gaps under those bridges so that our efforts are directly connecting young people into the industry in whatever route they choose. And then finally, by holding high expectations. And this is true about, this is true within our classroom spaces with our students, but also in our workspaces with our colleagues, right? And when we have those expectations and we believe that we can achieve them, and with our young people, we provide that support and that guidance, like it's going to happen, right? And so that's true for everyone. So some of the things that this experience affirmed is that one, access is everything, right? When we can bring quality program and meet them where they are, it reinforced that investment in time, talent, treasure, or money leads to impact. And so it really did teach me that we need to continue prioritizing meaningful relationships to ensure that we're creating the space to do the work that we do. I think it also affirmed that it only takes one person to lead a difference, make a difference, lead a difference, right? Our mentors, we call the filmmakers that work with the students' mentors, are just incredibly talented and generous. And I felt privileged to be able to receive this message on behalf of the team that's actually doing the work on the front lines, right? And so had I not walked up to Mom, we would not heard this story, right? And so I think that's really powerful. But a couple of things that this experience really did teach me is one, in schools and in education, we have an opportunity to create and transform these spaces into the environments that help people thrive, right? And that's emotionally safe spaces, psychologically safe, physically safe, right? All the things that are needed so that we can thrive. And when we do that for our young people and the adults that are working with them, I think like this is where we see, some of this talk to action, right? And that's sort of what we do, right? We hire filmmakers and we leverage their expertise and we coach them how to become educators in the classroom, right? And then we leverage the educators' expertise in the classroom and bridge that with what we're doing, right? And so that we're creating this structure within the school system already to help create these spaces. So I guess like the ultimate lesson for me here was like we need to redefine what success looks like, right? And this is not a new conversation, right? It's not groundbreaking news, but if we can anchor it where our students are, then they're going to show up, right? And so will our people. And so, yeah, I think those were, some of the experiences that or what that experience taught me in this brief moment, man. It was really powerful.
Yeah, obviously, you come to life telling that story, having those high expectations. I love to say that people have a funny habit of meeting your expectations, whether they're low or high, right? And so it's
This
good
is
that
true.
you hold that, for students and staff, something that you said. And then you've mentioned YCP a few times. Is that youth cinema project? And did I get that right? What's that all
That's
about?
right. Yeah, the Youth Cinema Project, man, is at the heart of our organization. So Latino Film Institute, or LFI for short, is a nonprofit organization. It was founded by Edward James Olmos. We're based in Los Angeles, and it's been around, I think, since 2016. And the goal of the organization is to, transform the entertainment industry by empowering storytellers, creators, and really building the infrastructure for education, advancement, innovation, and doing that in the many areas within the entertainment industry, right? And so at LFI, we house 5 signature programs, and the Youth Cinema Project is one of them, and the
Wow.
heartbeat, if you will.
Right.
And so, but before I go there, I'll kind of briefly touch on the other 4 because they're all very much connected within this
Sure.
like
Sure.
ecosystem. And so, the first one is the LALI for the film festival that I mentioned. There's 5 signature programs. One of them is the Los Angeles Latino International Film Festival, or LALIF. And so since 1997, LALIF has grown to be the largest Latino film festival in the United States. And it's really a space to celebrate stories told from the Latino perspective and brings audiences together from around the globe to reflect, the cultural depth and the creativity and the innovation that exists, right? The festival is Oscar qualifying, which is really exciting too for all of our participants. It makes us the only U.S. Latino festival. We're the winners of 2 different categories. The best U.S. Latino live action short and the best U.S. Latino animated short categories are eligible for Academy Award consideration. Then there's the second program is the LFI Scholar and Policy. This one here supports original research that documents and uplifts the contributions of U.S. Latinos in the entertainment industry. Then the third is LFI Spotlight. This is a series of events where we present curated films year round, really expanding the opportunities for audiences to engage with powerful Latino stories outside of the festival, right? So expanding just outside of those powerful 5 days. Then our fourth is LFI Fellowships. So this is a comprehensive suite of fellowships that provide grants, mentorship, and connections for emerging creators. And currently we're offering 5 different fellowships that are supported by different studio partners, as well as grants opportunities for our works in progress or finishing funds for some creators. So that's really powerful as well. And then we have our Youth Cinema Project, YCP. This is just really fantastic. I think the goal here is to really transform classrooms and public spaces into creative studios, and then therefore transform lives, right, of young people we serve. So we use filmmaking as the tool to build those skills, whether that's academic skills, social emotional skills, or 21st century learning skills, right? That is all folded into the academic core content during English language arts or English classes for our push-in programs, right? And we're using film that is very organically collaborative by nature, right? And what we're doing is by intention, we're help fostering those skills that are required in filmmaking that then translate into these other spaces, right? So in the classroom, as teachers tell us time and time again, right? Oh, our student is, improving their test scores, right? Or the entire class, we're seeing a decrease in failure rate and an increase in their English state test scores, right? Or in our with our English language learners, right? We're seeing, more students that are a part of this are reclassifying, right, from within their experience with us. And so, these are really powerful stories that are talking about how we're using filmmaking to do that work, right? And so just to kind of give you a picture a little bit around like the scale. So our program right now has been around for about 12 years, and we started in one school district in Los Angeles, and up to date today, we have 21 school districts across the state of California. We're running 61 classes across 21 school districts in California. And students get to participate through 4 different program options. We have our push-in programs, which is a signature program where mentors guide students through the creation of a short narrative film during English or English language arts. That happens over the course of the school year. We have our CTE film production pathways, right? This is a 3-course pathway aligned with media arts standards, VAPA standards, and English standards as well. And here is a sequence of 3 courses that's progressive and gets much more advanced, right? Really aligned with those industry standards. And then we have our expanded learning opportunities. So after school and summer, very enrichment and exploratory in nature, short form content that students are creating. And all of the work that's happening here then is screened at the festival to sort of like end cap it, but also serve as like a launch pad for our students. And with that, we have our alumni program. Here then, at no cost to the students or their families or the districts, they can continue with us from ninth grade to and through college and even into the industry. And so our alumni program has three pathways. We have a workforce pathway, industry pathway, and a college pathway. As you can see, they're very much actually intertwined, but we've defined them this way so that we can meet students where they are and support them with whatever route they choose to go, right? And because it looks very different. And so within that, very, very much aligned with like work-based learning frameworks to ensure that we're providing them not just the skill set, but the connections through the network, right? And so when we think about the ecosystem of LFI and all 5 programs, like they're very much connected. So the mentors in our adult programs, the adults in the fellowship programs are coming back to mentor our students in YCP, right? And then they also come back when they, get their big projects to hire our students to be PAs on their sets, right? And so we really created this ecosystem within the infrastructure that we're creating here with our folks. And so that's the work we're doing with the Youth Cinema Project.
Yeah, that community piece and that network, setting folks up for success. Just it doesn't matter like what stage they're sort of in. It's sort of like a flywheel that you've built. You start and then grow up, age up, and give back type of thing. And that's really pretty cool because I could see how that promotes so much success. Fantastic, and obviously growing. I think you said 21 districts, 60 something classrooms. It's a fantastic thing. And just double clicking on the idea that what I think I heard you say is, your participants start to thrive within your programs around film, cinema, the arts. And then that success there seems to translate back to the classroom where maybe they have a different view of themselves or more confidence or who knows what, but it's working. And then it spreads in all those domains is what I was hearing, if I got that right.
Oh, you're right on it, man. You're right on it. And this is what students are reporting to us. So you're right. And, we're hearing that, like the story of this young man, finding purpose and changing potentially his trajectory in his life. But outside of the academic gains, right? And where students and teachers are reporting students are improving writing, reading, speaking, listening. We're also seeing, students have something to look forward to come to school. Right. And
yeah,
more than 60% of them are excited for YCP specifically. Right. 78% of them are saying that they're able to use their voice and, they feel confident in the classroom to be able to speak and share what their thoughts are. And so, there's sort of a list that we put out through our annual impact report, right? That shows some of the impact that we're having. And I think one of them that I think is really fun is that 90% of the YCP participants, and we're serving about 2,000 students across the state each year, are sharing that they would recommend.
Yeah. So 2,000 kids across the state would recommend your program, it sounds like.
Yes, that's exactly it. So 2,000, 9% of them would recommend it to their peers, right? And so, that's very telling. And the more we continue to do this work and engage the teachers, the principals, schools, and all that, right, has been really meaningful, and being able to like refine the work that we do has been
Brilliant. So Hector, what do you think it is about the arts? Like my favorite 2 days each week, Tuesday and Friday. Tuesday I practice improv, and Friday I get to perform it in front of a crowd. And so I've been involved in the arts and music and acting type stuff since grade school. If I think about some of the early plays I did,
that's dope.
and it's wild that sometimes is what gets cut, first from schools. That's just stupid. Whoever's making that decision's an idiot. But arts need to be integrated. They help us see the full spectrum and beauty of life. But yeah, can you talk about like why it is the arts helps people heal and helps them thrive?
Yeah, absolutely. And you need to say that louder for the people in the back and the people outside, man, because it just doesn't make any sense, right? I think for me, it's connected in a couple of ways. I think, and most of it through my lived experience and even my personal experience, right? I too had, I was in the arts growing up, especially starting in middle school. and in dance, and then in music in high school. And I had a piano teacher who was really powerful and was one of the only adults in the school that seen by. And so, that for me was really, really powerful. And I like to say, wherever he is at right now, Mr. Ceballos, that I appreciate it because I feel like it helped funnel me into a different direction that then connected me to college and et cetera, et cetera. Right. So that's the personal experience. But mostly it's like research keeps telling us that this is real, right? The arts help us, in so many different ways. And there's a couple of things that I think of here is like, one, I'm going through a really exciting book right now. It's called Your Brain on
Okay.
Art: How the Art Transforms Us by
Yeah.
Ivy Ross and Susan. Have you heard of this one?
No, I'm gonna write it down. Your brain on art, right?
Your Brain on Art, yeah. And it's I believe it's a New York Times bestseller, and just talks about how art isn't extra, but it's actually essential, right? And it
Yeah.
physically shapes the brain, strengthening learning, memory, executive function, while supporting the
Yes.
lifelong skills that we need in the social emotional development and cognitive space. So that is really powerful. Full transparency, it does feel a little bit dense, and you got to digest and process it, but it's just really honed in really powerfully, I think, right?
Mm.
And so there's those benefits, right? And then there's two examples that I really continue to just bring, like, I guess, joy. Joy is how I think about it. But there's these two
Right.
schools in the LA area. One of them it's an arts conservatory school that serves third through 12th grade. And I mean, you walk onto this campus, it looks nothing like your traditional campus. They have state of the art equipment, state of the art facilities, and they're folding art into everything that they do there. So it's like this true arts integration that I have never seen before. And the students are in the arts the entire time as they go through that. And they have, I think, like 4 tracks or 3 or 4 tracks. And they've been around for maybe 20 years, and they consistently are graduating every single student, are connecting them into post-secondary opportunities, including college, right? And they're getting this exposure into the arts, even
Mhm.
through like career pathways that they've built, right? And so, the numbers are showing it there. And then there's another high school it's more of your traditional style high school. The space isn't so traditional, as like it takes part in a sort of like former 90s like mall kind of vibe. So it's really interesting and echoey. But when you walk into this space, you absolutely can feel the love
Mm.
in the room and like how people are showing up. And then everything is designed, created by students in that space. So they have
Mm.
their core classes, it's the period structure, but every elective is in the arts. And then arts integration into the core content is a priority for them. And so within that school district, this high school that is in it's a Title I school, it's in a low income area. They continuously are outperforming the other high schools in the area.
Mm. Mm.
And they are even outperforming, the best school that is in the more affluent neighborhood in the community.
Mm.
Right. And so they're seeing those high graduation rates, they're seeing the entrance into colleges as well. Right. And so, these are some of those, this is real. This is the real stuff that's happening. Right. And so we just can't ignore it. And, kind of connecting it back to like, we have to rethink what success looks like. I know it's scary and it can be dangerous, and maybe there's some fear, and we wanted it into what we know, but this is where it's at, and then this is how like YCP comes into the classroom too. It's, we're pushing into an English class, into an English language arts class, and it's different, right? And we ask teachers who might be skeptical, and many are at first, is like, please trust the process, right? And we're going to get there,
Mhm.
we're going to see it. And just this year we started in a new school in the Stockton area, in 2 new schools there, and the teacher was very skeptical, and he was pushing back a lot. And then we got through the first semester, which mostly is like the screenwriting part of the process and the technical skills and stuff. And he, in his words, I'm sure he inflated this a bit, but he's like, their writing skills have jumped 300%. And I know it's because of YCP, because of how
Mm.
rigorous that process is, right? And so and he just flipped, everything just flipped for him, right? And so, we're seeing that these opportunities that many folks are doing and many organizations are doing is producing the results. It's moving the needle.
100%. Yeah. So on this podcast, we have this point of view that ruckus makers do school different, right? And you're partnering with schools, making that a reality. The whole point of view is summed up in how do we reimagine the project of education within a traditional system so that we create campus experiences worth showing up for. And that's what we're seeing, right? Like kids are excited, they're engaged, it's rigorous, and it's, again, having a big impact across all the coursework. So this is a huge thing, and I just love what you're doing. Highly encourage California listeners to reach out, to YCP for sure. And then I don't know if you're
Even
expanding to
across
other
state lines.
states. Yeah,
We're
okay.
absolutely doing
So
that. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, so that's great. California is the biggest state that listens, followed by Texas. No surprise there. New York. So you might get schools from all these states. Then it's like Illinois, Georgia, Florida, Massachusetts. I won't go through all 50, but that's the top
50.
top 7
Yeah.
that I know off of my head. It strikes me, Hector, that like identity is at the core of a lot of your work as well. And can you talk a bit about like how that's like sort of shaped you in your work?
Yeah, identity is such a hard thing, or at least for me, and it has
Yeah.
been. And I'll spare the full details, but it's being almost 20 years in education, and only like one, maybe 2 years in the classroom, as a
Okay.
CT dance instructor, actually.
Yeah.
But everything else has been working in different capacities with district leaders, administrators on campuses, or with teachers directly, or in the out of school time space, right? And so, you know, I really step into my shoes as an adult, and that's where it happens for me mostly, right? And so, I can now confidently stand up and say, it's like, yep, I am Latino, I'm Mexican, I'm a Chicano. And so when I think about identity, it took me so long to even step into where I'm at, right? And for me, it's been a really powerful transformation over the years, and I embrace that experience that I've had, and I can stand here and proudly say, I am a Chicano from Los Angeles, from Boyle Heights specifically, right? A queer educator who is championing for young people and for our communities, right? And so that was not easy for me to say. And in fact, I never had that conversation with my parents before they passed, right? It just wasn't
Yeah.
acceptable, right? And so the many factors within, the environment that I grew up in, I think really influenced, the how and the why. But now I can stand here and do that, right? And so, folks like me, and I know there's so many other just, incredible folks that are doing similar work, are needed in the communities to do what we do to help young people explore and express and understand, who they are, and how they show up, right? I think in this, students are spending a lot of time in the school system, right? Sometimes they want more
Mm.
time there because they don't want to go home, right? So,
Mhm.
if we can help them, if we can build these spaces so that they can be as simple as that can be, I think, we're helping them shape their own identities, right? But yeah, it's a evolutionary process, as I like to think about it, and I feel like I still don't have a full sense of who I am, right? But I do feel pretty grounded in like what I think my values are, what the core values are, who I am, what I represent, and what matters to me. And so I lead with that as I go through this process.
Right on. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
ODP Business Solutions, formerly Office Depot Business Solutions Division, has been a trusted partner for schools for 30 years. At ODP Business Solutions, we're by your side to meet your evolving education needs. Remember that feeling when you wanted to upgrade your learning spaces, but the budget said, maybe next year? Here's what most people don't know. ODP Business Solutions doesn't just offer competitive pricing, we give you access to negotiated cooperative contracts that maximize every dollar. Want proof? We helped the Baldwin School District transform their entire campus while staying under budget. How? By combining smart design with smarter purchasing. From essential supplies to cutting edge tech, from sustainable cleaning solutions to flexible furniture, we're your one stop shop to do school different. And the best part, you can get it all from a single supplier. that helps you simplify ordering and streamlining budgeting while staying compliant with easy access to cooperative contracts. However you want to advance, ODP Business Solutions has 30 years of experience helping districts like yours get ahead. Visit odpbusiness.com/education to learn more. That's odpbusiness.com/education. Your school's culture shows up in the little moments, how supported people feel, how connected they are, and whether they believe they can grow. Frontline Education's 2026 K-12 Lens Survey Report found that retention, not just hiring, determines staffing stability. And districts with easier hiring are more likely to have professional growth that is structured and automated. Nearly half of districts that manage professional growth with software report easier hiring versus 30% that don't. If you're building a campus where great educators want to stay, download the full K-12 Lens report. You can get it at frontlineeducation.com/leaders. Get that full K-12 Lens report at frontlineeducation.com/leaders. What makes an assessment effective? I would argue giving teachers access to quick, reliable, and useful results that inform the next best steps for teaching. And that's where IXL really stands out. Teachers get powerful insights into student performance on a daily basis so they can address issues the moment they arise. Imagine that, adjusting instruction in real time before it's too late. Your teachers have a tool that helps them be even more effective. And your students, they grow and they grow. Check it out for yourself at ixl.com/leaders. That's ixl.com/leaders. Before we get to the questions, I ask sort of all my guests at the end. I believe this airs mid-May, and then your festival dates are sort of at the end of May. And so is there anything you want to just talk about or let the listener viewer know about this festival that's coming up? Just, to get them
Yeah.
excited. Maybe they'll participate or something.
La Leaf is one of the most incredible experiences of my life, right? And, we know the Latino diaspora is very broad, but this, event brings people from across the globe and into one space. It takes place in Hollywood. This year, we're celebrating our 25th edition, so it's very
Whoa.
special for us.
Yeah.
And we are running May 27th through May 31st. Tickets are out for our opening night and for some of the screenings, and just a lot of opportunities, master classes, panels. We have a market, happy hours and parties, if you will, as well. Right, the opening night film, so many incredible screenings and different projects that reflect, just the diversity of folks' experiences, backgrounds, and thoughts. And so, check us out on our website. It's really exciting to see, the different people that come together here and to be in it. There's nothing like being in it to feel it. And so, yeah.
Mhm. Wonderful. What's the website URL in case people want to check that out and see if they can attend?
For sure. You can go to latinofilm.org. LATINOFILM.org.
Perfect. All right. Well, at the end of each show, I ask everybody the same 3 questions. So I'd love to, bounce those off of you right now. The first one is, if Hector could put one message on every single school marquee around the world for a single day, what would your message be?
The message would be, el que quiere, puede. Take the first step. It's funny, as I thought about this and I was like, how do you translate it to English? But essentially it's something like, if you want it badly enough, you're going to find a way and make a way. And then I added, take the first step. I think sometimes we overthink things and we're not ready to jump, or we feel like we have to perfect it because, we were going to put it out into the world or put it in front of a group of students, right? And I think if your intentions are aligned with the goals and the purpose, take the first step, right? Y el que quiere puede. Like if you really want that, you're going to make it happen, right? You're going to find a way. And the question that I like to lead with is like, how do we make this happen? Sometimes to my detriment, because some things are not always possible, right? But I think if we put it on the table, we start to explore how do we make this happen? Whether that means it can start tomorrow, it's going to start in a year or down the line. But it's like, what's that first step that we need to take to make it happen, right? And so I really lean into this coming from, a Mexican family. Like I would hear from my dad all the time and my tias, this is a thing that would come up. And, and I've seen some success personally from it as well, so that would be the message that I put on every marquee.
Yeah, it's a perfect message. There's a new concept that I've just started to teach, and it's called self-mentorship. Because the big idea is, it was such a gift. I was talking to a wonderful principal that we had the pleasure of supporting in our community. I was actually talking to him about his use of a product I built called Digital Danny. It's my digital clone, right? And
That's
essentially, right,
awesome. Okay.
I'm not available to everybody all the time, but I coach, So how do you help at scale? So I built the product. It's available 24/7. And essentially, this guy was the biggest user. 1,015 messages he sent since
Whoa, that's crazy.
August, right? It is. And so I just said, Corey, like, how would you describe this tool and why you use it? And he's like, basically, your marquee message, right? He said that, right? And he said, it's this tool that helps me self-mentor. And I said, that's what we do. We teach self-mentorship here. That's been my journey for over the last decade,
That's
where I get to
incredible.
talk to.
Love that.
Yeah, yeah. And that's been my journey
Oh,
to,
you're frozen.
talking to incredible people like you, learning from your stories of success and failure over the last decade. I've been on a self-mentorship journey. So I just wanted to highlight that because I'm very excited about this new idea that we're putting language around. And last thing I'll say real quick is just, I
It's
have a
incredible.
mini book out. It's free. And
Okay.
if you want to check it out, it's at ruckusmakers.media, but it's called, the art of
Oh,
self-mentorship.
definitely.
So by the
Yeah,
time
I'll
this
pick that up for
episode's,
sure.
by the time this episode's out, it'll be there. So, okay. But back to you. I just
Awesome.
got
Okay.
excited there for a second. So
No, that's
thanks for
awesome. But
letting me
hey,
jump
that
in.
I love this idea. I'm gonna look into that and see, what that could do for me and for the team here. Like, you know, that's incredible,
Man,
man. Congrats on that.
appreciate it. Thank you. So now let's say, Hector, you're building your dream school. You're not limited by any types of resources. Your only constraint is your ability to think big and imagine. How would you build your dream school? What would the three guiding principles be?
This one is so fun. You have no idea, right? Like, man, to build this, my first when I thought of this, I was like, the first thing that's going to happen is we're having the best state of the art, dance academy for
Mm.
every single type of dancer, for all ages, for an incredible amount of cross generational work, but for like all these things, right? That we see across some of the successful dance programs. And that's just because, I grew up with my parents in the arts and my mom loved to dance. And so I love to dance and, that's how I got into it. But I think, if I had it my way, I'd probably be in the world somewhere, in the world of dance, to be honest. But here I am and I'm happy where I'm at. But that would be something part of this campus, right? The guiding principle is here, I think is one is let them create it, right? And
Yeah.
I like to think of this idea of like a maker space, right? But imagine if every single space that they came in was that in the different subject areas, for the different subject areas, in the different arts spaces, in science and in STEM, right? And an opportunity where they get to create it, and then therefore, we're not just preparing them for the future; they're also creating their future, or whatever that can look like, right? And so this space then is where they can explore, play, learn, develop, grow, collaborate, all these things. So I think that's the first one. The second one is like do it with joy. Like that's gonna be
Yes.
like the like another principle there. I think it's really easy for folks to really get caught up on the politics within a system, or the nuances that really are the pain points, and then trickle into something bigger, right? Or ripple into something bigger. And I think, we have to stay grounded, and that means a lot of things. That means so many things, right? We have to take care of our people. And, I like to think of work-life balance more as like work-life integration, right? For me personally, I love what I do and I'll integrate it into
Mm-hmm.
my life. I'll have a conversation when I'm hanging with my friends, right? And I don't just cut it off when I check out for the
Sure.
day, right? And so how do we create a space that allows us to find the joy to support us when we're not there? Because the truth is sometimes we're at 20% and we need someone to pour into us, and vice versa, right, with the folks around us. So I think that's a second guiding principle to help really create the emotionally and psychologically safe space within this campus. And I think the third one is there's something powerful around like the coin term, right? Si se puede,
Mm.
by Dolores Huerta, and there's something around just like the weight that carries through like a social justice lens, right? That I think needs to drive the how we build or design or create this campus for our young people, especially for communities that are, that are like the ones that we're serving through ICP, right? Every single school is a Title I school, meaning, low income community, families, under resourced, marginalized communities, all those things, right? And so when we lead with that, there's something being paired with like the education and the academic side of learning that is like a fuel, if you will, right? It's like you got your car and now I need to gas it up. And so if we can bridge that and lead with that purpose, it's like there's a North Star beyond what it might look like in a traditional classroom. And it's fueled by equity, it's fueled by access, it's fueled by inclusion, right? Or whatever words we want to use nowadays. But
Sure.
yeah, those would be the three guiding principles.
Brilliant. Well, Hector, we covered a lot of ground today, and of everything we discussed, what's the one thing you want a ruckus maker to remember?
Yeah, I think, well, first off, because we believe that our reach should be accessible to every young person. I think the one message that I would like folks to take from today, outside of like reach out to us, let's talk about and explore what we can do together, right? Is challenge your thoughts, the good ones and maybe the bad ones or the not so good ones, right? Challenge that thought and then think about what do I need to do in this moment, right?
Mm.
And ultimately, what YCP is doing is stepping into a very traditional system and shaking it up, right? And when we design and create systems that support dialogue, discussion, specifically focused around student outcomes and impact, we all we start and we prioritize them, right? We have to stay away from the bad apples or those parts of the work that sometimes drain us in a way that is unhealthy to ourselves, right? And this is why I think those systems should support the students, but also the adults that are in. So yeah, I know it's harder said than done sometimes, but anyone can lead a difference, and I think that's going to be powerful.
Hey, Ruckus Maker, thanks again for pressing play. I hope you enjoyed this show as much as I enjoyed recording it. And before you go, if today's episode shifted something for you, where you want to do school different or you have a new idea about education, then I want to invite you to subscribe to ruckusmakers.news. That's our newsletter. And you get 3 new opportunities to do school different every week sent to your inbox. It's trusted by over 5,000 school leaders. And if you want to reimagine education within a traditional setting so that you could create a campus experience worth showing up for, subscribe for free at ruckusmakers.news.